Welcome to Forgiveness for Business and Personal Breakthroughs. Forgiveness is a super powerful, transformative tool that will unlock you from habits of self-betrayal, self-punishment, and really open yourself to have those close connected relationships, open to yourself to the flow of abundance. Because in a nutshell, when you forgive in your heart, there's a magic that happens that opens you. So suddenly you're receiving and you can see yourself through the eyes of the divine. And when you see other people through the eyes of the divine, and it changes your whole reality. So before we dive into this a little bit, I'm going to stop the share so you can see who I am. And we go, hi, I'm Grace Mosgeller, and I'm a soul purpose coach and energy healer. And I'm recording this for my private client and my small group coaching clients, because this is a primer for a lot of what we're doing. And as you watch this, you're going to get a really solid background as to why you really need to embrace the gift, the jewels that only forgiveness can bring in this crazy world we call Earth, with the polarities of dark and light, light and dark. Forgiveness helps us to really channel our thoughts and our be in alignment with prosperity that's in the light, and stops the patterns that trip you up and hold you back and take you down. So let me start sharing again. How do I do this? Start sharing the screen. So there we go. So if you don't know how to forgive, like I said before, you're going to continue to endure repeating patterns of lack, of limit, of struggle and betrayal. And it's not fun, and it seems kind of like an oxymoron, because when somebody's done something wrong to you, when you're angry, the natural reaction, lower self reaction, is let's get them back, or they've got to be punished, or depending upon how you're wired, you might have blamed yourself, and I'm going to punish myself. So, and along those lines, if you don't know how to forgive, you won't be able to stop bad habits that you know that you should stop, but you aren't able to get yourself to do. And you won't be able to enjoy that feeling of inner peace, because you'll always be waiting for the shoe to drop, or you might feel guilty, or you'll be crawling through mud, or you'll experience big, huge gains in empowerment and connection. Maybe you got a financial flow coming through, and then whack, something will come along to wipe that all out. And when you have those kinds of symptoms, you're going to know that there's some betrayal, whether it's with yourself, with someone else, or with God, that just needs to be resolved. So who's Grace Mosgeller? And you know me because you signed up, you hired me, but I guide women entrepreneurs, actually, strong, high achieving women, to align with their soul, heal their past, and so they can create the vision of their dreams, so they can really get out there and make the impact that they've been called to make. So remember, I had a hard time with this in the beginning as well, because I didn't want to forgive my ex-husband, because in my mind, he was just like wrong, right? And the things he had done were unforgivable. But when you realize that forgiveness isn't about the other person, karma takes care of them, right? It's about your personal freedom to move on, to learn the lesson, and move beyond that. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it sure does open the possibilities to a much better future. And what's cool about forgiveness, it's a very spiritual realm kind of activity. And the Buddhist people call the biggest betrayers in your life your noble friend. And so in the physical world, they're mean, nasty, and ugly. But in the spiritual world, they've agreed to come into your life and poke at you and make your life really super difficult on purpose so that you have a chance to learn that lesson and to forgive, because forgiveness is the highest form of love that you can get. And that's part of soul evolution. That's part of humanity's evolution, so that we can stop being mean, nasty, and ugly to each other, so that we can really evolve humanity. So man is humane and kind to man, right? That's kind of like the whole goal. So when you're holding on to the energies of blame or shame, that's another sign that lets you know that there's still more to that lesson. There's still, the betrayal isn't over. And until you resolve that betrayal, the energy going out, instead of creating the life that you want, is going to be going out consciously or subconsciously to yourself, limiting yourself somehow, or to others. So the point is, you're using your energy to heal, to keep in place something that has already happened, and preventing yourself from moving forward. So when you hear yourself say, I should have, I wished I could have, or they should have, that's a huge signal that you are carrying shame or blame. And that's like a really cool thing. So the other thing is, I've alluded to this before, is if you have things in your life that feels like a punishment, like you can't go on vacation, or you can barely earn the amount of money just to get by, and to think of something, to think of an income stream that's 2, 3, 4 times more of what you've ever earned before in your life, seems like you may want it, but you'll never be able to do that. Anything that seems like a constant struggle, like relationships with ex-husbands or with adult children, that's doesn't feel connected and loving. There's always there's a betrayal either on their end or your end that needs to be resolved. And that's what I love to do. It's like the foundational core of how I do work in my business. So this is one of my first clients. I'm Shirley. She's a Georgia gal, and she owned a flower truck. And when I met her, she was settling with crumbs with her flower truck business. She loved a flower truck. She didn't have the flower truck, but she called herself a flower truck when I met her. And she was living off of Social Security. And she also was wanting to have, she was dating dweebs. She was always wanting to find a relationship. And so it's really funny how really having a receiving love and receiving money is along that same channel of deservingness and worthiness. And so in the money breakthrough part of my coaching and healing program, the forgiveness, we uncovered some forgiveness of what had been keeping her back. And when and I worked with her quite a bit around her money issues and self-worth issues. And by the time she left me, she had started, I think she bought her truck or was buying her truck. And it's been a couple of years. I spoke to her about a year ago. And she said that after she was working with me, that she quickly doubled her income, hired some more people, and is now getting ready. She wasn't sure if she was going to franchise her business or if she was going to sell it. But all this came from a foundation's deep work of digging in and finding out, well, what are the triggers that's keeping me to stay in shame, keeping me to stay in blame, keeping me in the struggle of trying to get by. And so forgiveness changes your reality in very positive, life-affirming ways, like it did for Shirley. Shirley, at that time, last time I talked with her, she was dating much more available men. At the time before, she was just dating guys that really didn't treat her well. I don't think she's in a relationship, or if she is, I haven't heard about it. And then it also opens you up to making a lot of money. Um, it just does. And you'll find that out as soon as we get a little bit deeper in here. So these are the things that I take you through. So I have when you do forgiveness process, we start off in the first chakra, which is all about tribe, which is all about the relationship where you fit in, and then the rules that keep it together, the rules that, the structure of the family setting. And so at the first chakra level, a betrayal might happen. And he's like, yeah, no, that shouldn't have happened. You were supposed to, quote, you should have, right? Or I should have, or I was supposed to, within that family setting. Like for me, when I looked back on my parenting skills, I was so bogged down in responsibility that I wasn't able to be present and in the moment for my children as much as they needed, let alone I didn't even know. And looking at hindsight, I was like flabbergasted at how much harm I felt I had inflicted on my children. And I could not forgive myself for that. That was like the unforgivable act, right? So, and because, and that, mothers and their children and then parenting mistakes, that's a recipe for helicopter parenting of codependency that keeps your children stuck in whatever loop they're in, because that dynamic hasn't resolved and healed, and they don't get the chance to fly away and be free on their own. So, but anyhow, coming back to first chakra, betrayal happens, and then the energy comes up to the second chakra where we feel angry. And then depending on your soul personality type and how you're wired and what was acceptable in your family, either you're just going to get really outraged and seek revenge, or going to get them back, or you're engaging a fight somehow, or you might be wired to like, well, I can't get angry to my parents. I refuse to be angry as I was treated, so I'll repress my anger. And the problem with repressing anger, it's life force energy of change. Betrayal happened, I deserve better. It's a life force energy of I deserve better. But that if you squish it down, it's still in your body and it wreaks all kinds of havoc within, and then it'll come out like squeaky, like it's like a fart that you're trying to hold, and it comes out anyhow because the force of anger is huge. Anger is meant to help you make big changes, so that's why it's so powerful, right? And we feel powerful when we're blasting someone else, but it's not a very defined thing. It's not mutually beneficial. It's like, I win, you lose. I'm stronger than you, right? So this is all happening at the second chakra. So if you we stay in the second chakra and you keep repeating the patterns over and over again, because until that anger is voiced and resolved and say, I deserve better, up at the second chakra, up at the third chakra, then you're so involved in the fray, the anger of, there's like, you can't see, like you're just seeing red, right? So you can't really see any other mutually beneficial possibilities, let alone even think that that's something that you would want. Because it's just like, yeah, no, I want revenge. So, and then after that, we realize what you really want. And then I always, there's a bird here on purpose, because you always want a bird's eye view. You always want to see the betrayal from a higher perspective. And what was really going on back and forth. And that's why really understanding the soul personalities, the higher self and the lower self sides of them, is so important, not only to understand yourself and why you made your mistakes, but why other people did. And then that can bring up some compassion. And when you're ready, up at the fourth chakra, we really engage your soul energy and their heart energy to forgive. And of course, we bring in the divine, because that's the light, that's the love. And remember, love is the strongest force on earth. So we're really tapping into the power of love. And that's, and along with your divine source, and, many people use Jesus Christ. Many people use their favorite divine entities to help them raise their vibration to forgive. And remember, you only have to be willing to forgive. And then what's really magical is once you've opened up your heart chakra to forgive, and you've actually really done it, what's really amazing is the communication between you and the divine opens up in that area. So then all of a sudden you see, feel, hear, and know yourself and the situation through the eyes of the divine. And when I work with the people to really get to believe in themselves, and they forgive themselves for past mistakes and the reasons why they decided that that's when we go really deep to find the core decision when you decided, I'm not good enough or I don't deserve. And we know that conceptually, we know we do, but when you actually forgive, then the divine can come in, and then within you, it's a visceral knowing, it's a visceral knowledge, it's a visceral wisdom that you are deserving. You are love. You are everything that your heart's been telling you to kind of wake up. Let's do this, right? So forgiveness is huge, very, very huge. This forgiveness, when it's done completely, there's different aspects of it. It can shift the parts of you wish you didn't have. Like for me, I had until I understood these soul personalities, I had a huge destroyer within my heart. And my lower self side I felt like, we're talking about power, felt most powerful when I was mean, nasty, and ugly. And I really regretted doing that, because that's not who I was. But when I understood the higher self and lower self parts of our personality, and that on the other side of the destroyer may, when it's for me and any other person that has a destroyer in their personality, they're mean, nasty, and ugly, and they're kind of like the people that everybody else has to forgive, right? But the higher self energy of the destroyer, fueled by love, right, destroys fear, destroys doubt, destroys guilt, destroys shame. So it makes me a super powerful healer that once I really tapped into that, and I felt that for myself, allowed me to be able to forgive myself for the past mistakes, because I didn't know. I didn't know I was doing it. I thought I was doing, the role model, and we get more into that when we do the one-on-one or the group healing, the group forgiveness processing, getting yourself ready to forgive. On the other side of forgiveness, that's what the confidence builder is, like when you truly believe in yourself, and so that you just become that person who is powerful, who asks for the sale, who makes the impact, that and if it's in relationships, who repairs family dynamics. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So for your business and financial realities. The topics to forgive, the things that might have happened in your life are past financial traumas, like you got fired for no reason, or you got endured bankruptcy, you were underinsured, or you were underemployed, or you made, or someone a earner in your husband, like you got a divorce, like that's happened to me. I had a divorce and all of a sudden my second income's gone and I've got 2 children plus more, because it was crazy, right? I'm not the only one that went through that, but that's a trauma, right? So another trauma is past business mistakes and failures. Um, uh, I'm like really good at this because I made a lot of mistakes. I was raised to read contracts, right? My dad was very controlling and also very, very smart. And he says, before you sign any document, read the fine print. So I read the fine print for about 15, 20, 30 years. And then somewhere around on the 30-year mark, so I'm like 40, because my dad taught me all this when I was 10, right? I bought a machine an expensive machine for my skincare business, and I didn't read the small print. And I thought that if I wanted to pay the loan off before all the interest accrued, that I'd be able to do that. But in that particular agreement, that was not a possibility. And it cost me literally tens of thousands of dollars because I didn't read the small print. And of course, I blame myself for that. And so when you blame yourself for that, so if there's somebody's done something wrong, you've got to punish yourself. And that ends up as not being able to earn the kind of money that you know you're worth. Codependency with your children, I touched on that a little bit, is having regret, feeling guilty for past parenting mistakes, and then self-betrayals, letting yourself down. So this is my friend Katie. She came to me. She was a model, and she knew she was a model and a single mom, and she was really wanting to blossom in her business. And she needed to forgive herself. And she came to me, she says, Grace, I know I need to forgive myself, but I don't know how. Because she married a man that she knew in advance wouldn't support her modeling career. And you know how we're women, we get caught up in our emotions and we don't want to hurt people. And so when we don't want to hurt people, maybe they don't get hurt, but perhaps we do. So she did some work with me. I don't know, it took about maybe 3 or 4 sessions. She wasn't a very long time client, but after forgiving herself and him, and then the root cause, like with her parents and whatnot, where it first started, her modeling career took off. It was amazing. So I really want to reframe what betrayals are. Everybody, gets all we live in a vindictive society where you do something wrong and all of a sudden you're judged and juried, and you're in court and you're punished, right? You say something wrong by mistake, you make a retraction, you lose your job, especially if you're on TV or a high profile kind of person. But the really cool thing about betrayals is that they're gifts in disguise. Because, like I said before, anger that comes after betrayal is just a wake-up call. You wouldn't be angry if you didn't know you deserved better, right? And then on the flip side of those people that just take abuse and take abuse and take abuse and take abuse, that's because they've had so much abuse that they don't realize that there's something else, that they deserve better, until one day something happens and they've had enough. And then it's like the dam explodes, right? And that they're gifts in disguise because they give you the opportunity to love anyhow. And to look at human behavior, like what they did in the human world is mean, nasty, ugly, shouldn't have been done, right? But in the soul world, in the spiritual world, that's where unconditional love is. And understanding how to get along in this polarity world of good and bad, of dark and light, warm and cold, of male and female, and really how to integrate that and really make your way happens when in the light, when you're in love. And betrayals are a wake-up call to say, hey, get your head out of your butt. Let's step into the light. So let's do the 7 steps to forgiveness to create positive changes in your reality. So the primer for this is that all healing happens by raising the vibration of unconditional love in your body. Then feeling the pain of the story in your body, like reliving it until it disappears. And the cool thing is the higher vibration, the less amount of pain that you have to feel before you let go. But the sad fact is the way out is through. And even and when you go to healers, someone like me, we raise the vibration even more so that you can see your trauma from a higher perspective, and you're able to actually make those changes from, your heart's still involved, because your heart has to be involved, otherwise you can't heal, but it's a lot more gentler, and it's a lot less traumatic to go through. And remember, on the other side. So what we really want to do is, the meditations I give you are meant to really train you to really build that vibration of love in your heart, so that you're more impactful, not only for yourself. I mean, you get to heal, but that high vibration of love in your heart is also what manifests more of what you really want. And when you're aligned with your soul's just going to supercharge that as well. So you become a magnet for your soul's purpose. See how this is all tying together. So step 1 is identify the betrayal to forgive. Like, I got fired from my job and I was blindsided and it shouldn't have happened. Or forgive yourself for making a parenting mistake, or my ex-husband cheated on me, or that narcissist just took, and I gave and gave and gave and gave and gave, and they just took and took and took and took. And you really do want to heal those betrayals. And when you work with me and you get more information working with me, you're going to understand that spectrum, that dynamic between the overgiver and the narcissist, and between the because we're all unconscious, the unconscious mistakes that we make. So step 1, identify the betrayal. Step 2, decide on the outcome that you'd rather be experiencing. So if you've got a husband, or you don't have a romance partner, or relationships don't feel good and you'd rather not be in them, but your heart is longing for companionship, for sharing the joys of life's mysteries and experiences with a beloved, and that's a calling from your heart, it's calling from your soul to really and live this outcome. And so really decide on what that is. And so when we're working together, I'll be happy, this is like a formula that I'm sharing with you, but when we're working together, I'm going to show you how to really burst clarity to what you'd rather be experiencing when you're in the the quagmire of betrayal, punishment, and limit. So then step 3, voice your anger and channel it into the energies of deservingness. And so that's why in this portal there is a 3-day challenge. It's got I think there's videos in there, and there's also a PDF. There's a lot of information on how to channel anger into deservingness, and we'll be doing that in our work together. But the more you understand how to do that before you do the work together, the faster you're going to progress through these shifts, through this transformation. Step 4, remember, anger is the life force energy of deservingness and of change. And when you channel it in the right way, it can lead to positive, mutually beneficial, empowering change. That's what I'm all about. Man's humanity to man, soul to soul communication. Step 4, bring in self-compassion. I didn't know, it wasn't my fault, or they didn't know, they were doing the best. They had their own demons to fight. And you see this from the higher perspective. And a lot of times when you can't see, one of my favorite phrases is, "Dear God, help me see this in a higher light. Let me see this through your eyes. Help me see this from a higher perspective. So I'm making understanding and compassion so that I can forgive." And then step 5 is all you to accept and forgive yourself for believing the betrayer, whether it's yourself. And if you're not ready to forgive, you don't think you can. But if you're willing, the universe just goes, yay! And there's this huge, amazing peace, clearing, resolve that happens. Step 6. You're going to, once you've forgiven yourself for believing the betrayer, for being duped, right? The next thing you can do is bring in a compassion, acceptance for the person that duped you. And when our work together, we're going to be doing some generational healing. We'll also be doing past life healing, depending upon how long you stay with me, but for sure, generational healing. And so the generational healing is you. And then because it's a family pattern, it's had happened the first time in early childhood, and it came to you because that was how they handled the situations, right? And so we're healing right at the DNA level. And so you're going to forgive yourself that going this way, and then you also forgive yourself going down your lineage line to your children, so they don't have to repeat the same limiting, destroying behavior patterns, right? This is huge. This is like really good work. And then step 7, set an energetic boundary that honors, respects both you and the betrayer. And what's really magical is once you've gotten the anger out and you've willing to forgive, then you can see through the eyes of the divine, you can see mutually beneficial solutions. And then I take you through you'll be taken through, and you'll learn how to, depending upon, again, how long you stay with me, how to separate, separate yourself, so you have this boundary of self-respect around you. And it helps you stop, so you know who you are and where you start and stop. And it's the same for the people around you. So like I said, this process is really hard to do on your own. And just stepping off a cliff is really, really scary. So what I want you to do is just like really, where is this? There's Laura, book your wild. This is like, so what I want you to do moving forward when you're working with me is approach forgiveness as an opportunity to clear your way to get the results that you hired me for, that you invested yourself in for. Forgiveness is a huge tool. So today we talked about how it's a must-have business and personal tool, that freeing the betrayal creates the positive shifts in your reality. And then we touched on the importance of forgiving both sides of the betrayal, and an energetic boundary to prevent the same betrayal happening again. And then I want to touch on the complete forgiveness. Complete forgiveness is often called epic forgiveness, is when you've done enough clearing of your family history, forgiveness of yourself within your family, because that's your little core orbit, right? That when you see this from a higher perspective, and that the mean, nasty, and ugly things that they did to you motivated you to become who you are today. And when you see that, you also know what your soul mission is. Because, when we come into this world, we're just kind of splatted here, and it's harsh. And that's a wound, right? And so depending upon how we handled that wound, did we feel abandoned, rejected, unworthy, ashamed, all those things. So those are the wounds to heal. And then after you've healed those wounds, then, well, who did you become as a result of that? Like, if I listened to my parents, I would still be working I would still be working in a medical field somewhere. I'd be doing research and development, which isn't a bad thing, but that would have been using the smarts of my brain. But because my soul was calling, I wanted deeper relationships, and I saw the mistakes I had made with my children. I wanted different. I wanted to open my heart. And had I not been so brain dominant and made those mistakes, and had my parents been so brain dominant and made those mistakes with me that I repeated with my kids, I wouldn't have woken up. And I wouldn't be here helping you do the same. So there's another story, a friend of mine who she was a friend of mine, a colleague who had a speech problem. Like she was born, several lifetimes, as well as where her voice, her fifth chakra, was just totally shut down, and she wasn't able to use her voice. And so when she was in this lifetime and she had speech problems, she had a speech therapist that wasn't very good early on. And because her desire to speak and to really make an impact with her voice was so strong, she became a speech therapist. And then she started coaching singers and children, and she became world renowned, simply because she overcame the reasons she had a speech impediment, the reasons that she couldn't talk. She also learned speak in a bunch of different languages. And so that's kind of like the big picture, beautiful umbrella put on this nastiness of betrayals, nastiness of things that we want to blame, and think about COVID. They shut us down. They shut the whole country down. And yeah, it wasn't fun. But the positive side was so many people started new careers. So many people ended toxic relationships, or they healed them. We learned, this whole how to connect with each other with video and become more global. We became more global and more connected when they shut us down. and new innovative ways of doing business emerged from that. So that's why it's really, really important to see things from a higher perspective. So I hope this was helpful for you. I'm bringing you context. I did write a screenshot, so I'm just going to stop the share. And I'm going to tell you about Ho'oponopono, which is my favorite forgiveness or mantra of choice at this point in time. Remember, all you have to do is be willing to forgive when you know a situation. But what's cool about this mantra is it's an ancient Hawaiian forgiveness process that's been used for centuries. And like any prayer, anything that's repeated over and over again, it's like it's got its own collective consciousness channel, like its own neural pathway channel between here and the divine. And so it carries a lot of power, a lot of potency for forgiveness in this case. So the mantra starts off by being willing to forgive, right? And you bring the forgiveness situation to your mind's eye. And then you raise up your vibration and get high in your heart. And then you visualize the person that you want to forgive, whether it's yourself or another person, someone who's betrayed you or someone who you are sorry for betraying, right? And so then, so you do that first, and then you say, the light in me salutes the light in you. So you're talking soul to soul. And so the mantra is, I love you. And so you're talking the soul to soul, not the mean, nasty, ugly part of them, but the part of you that is soul to their soul. I love you. And then I'm sorry. And you can say, I'm sorry. And the fill in the blank is for them doing something mean, nasty, and ugly to you, or for you doing something mean, nasty, and ugly to them. And then so in your mind's eye, you're going to be replaying that scene, that relationship duel, right? So first is high vibration, I love you, I'm sorry. And then you say, please forgive me. And it can just be as simple as, please forgive me. But I often am prompted by my guides and angels, or just by myself, it just kind of comes up for X, Y, and Z, for not being there for you, for not being who you wanted me to be, or please forgive me for judging you so harshly. Please forgive me for being mean, nasty, and ugly for you, right? And then you can also, please forgive me for causing you to be mean, nasty, and ugly to me. I forgive myself. Thank you. And then you repeat it over and over and over and over and over again until you find peace. So when we're in one-on-one or in our pod group together, we'll make sure I can answer any questions. But this is just like a primer for that. Sending love and light. Take care.